Hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Chaffee on this Tuesday as we have the last day of these 90 to 95 temperatures that we're experiencing here in the Northeast and northern mid-Atlantic states. This is going to be a shorter video than usual because I'm running a little behind. I went out fishing this morning with my buddy Phil Buzz, and he caught two fluke and 2 sea robins, and I caught no fluke and 2 sea robins. If I was going for sea robins, I would have caught fluke. The fact that I was going for fluke means that I wound up catching sea robins. No matter. Let's move along. And Tropical Storm Calvin formed yesterday, lasted for all of about a couple of hours as the center moved inland into Mexico, and has now, or they've already issued the final advisory from that. But you can see this large area of moisture we've been talking about that's building across the Pacific tropics back over toward Panama and South America. So it's out of this that something may wind up developing either in the Northwest Caribbean or in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. Whether it winds up being anything more than just a tropical depression or a weak tropical storm remains to be seen. But at this point, you know, as far as we can tell, the pressures are going to be below normal here going into this weekend, and that should facilitate some development there, but not sure at all whether it becomes anything of serious consequence. So we'll get to that over time. And when we look at the brand new GFS model from today, looking at this part, you can see all this convection that the model shows throughout much of the Pacific tropics, and you get this little low that forms in the northwestern Caribbean, kind of comes back and forth as we go into Sunday, and then eventually a low does emerge into the southwestern Gulf of Mexico early next week, and it kind of just sits down there. If you look at the GFS out into Thursday, it's still pretty much meandering in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. So that's going to probably produce a moist flow of air at least toward the Texas coast and maybe even the Louisiana coast. But again, as far as anything more significant, way too soon to figure that part of the equation out. So let's go to our area, or the area that I cover, because I know there's a lot of you from all different places. And let's back it up. You know, from what we saw yesterday, the overall pattern would suggest an active pattern going forward to some degree. Weather systems moving through, can't get hot for more than a day or two, and that seems to be the case here. We have this backdoor front that's coming through late this afternoon and this evening. You can see it here. This is for 2 a.m. The front is pushing through some showers and maybe a thunderstorm ahead of it. Then it pushes southward, and we get this onshore flow the next 2 days, which will bring temperatures down at least 10 to 15 degrees, and in some cases probably more than that. Another weather front pushes east from the Ohio Valley, so we start to put in maybe the chance for some showers on Friday into the equation, and that front's going to take its time. There's a lot of energy coming out of the Pacific here, so we'll probably see the risk for downpours and some thunderstorms running around all weekend, although it's not going to be anything continuous, and there certainly will be dry stretches. So the Father's Day weekend looks like a warm, humid weekend with the possibility for some showers and storms. And then on Monday, as the front finally approaches, looks like maybe a better chance for showers and thunderstorms before we dry it out on Tuesday of next week. And then it looks like it might try to get very warm for a day or two later next week, at least from this model run. But there's probably going to be another weather front that pushes behind it. And we'll look at the upper air pattern, and we'll take a look at that. And so, you know, you can see our ridge here in the east just kind of flattens out a bit. The back door is being pushed by this deepening trough that's east of Newfoundland. And then you have energy from the Pacific that comes in and gradually swings eastward. Now, part of that pulls out. There's an attempt for some ridging here later next week. And this is on the new model run. So we're kind of on the edge here of some hot air that'll cover the middle and South Atlantic states if this is correct. I'm going to back it up a run to see what's happening. And it looks like, you know, the model is a little bit weaker with this whole profile of this upper low that forms over Hudson Bay, but you still have some troughing here, and then toward the end of the period, as we get toward the last days of the month, there is a big upper high that forms in the Ohio Valley. So we'll see how that plays. And then another strong system coming in to the west. I was reading, by the way, yesterday that Mammoth Mountain, I believe that's in California. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But I was reading that skiing in Mammoth Mountain is probably going to go right into August, and that this has been one of the most unbelievable snow years for them in many, many decades. So, I mean, that's how out of whack the rubber band was stretched out in the western part of the United States with respect to how much rain and snow fell this year back through California and parts of the Northwest. California in particular making up for 5 years worth of drought. So let's real quick, I'm going to look at the west and see what's happening there. We'll just put some precip on the map if it lets me. There we go. And I'm at the end of the period. These are your dates up here for reference points, just in case I forget. And here's our rain and snow today in the Northern Rockies that pulls out. Get another system coming into the northwest at the end of the week. Looks like at least the southwest is dry, which is going into summer mode there, dry and hot. A few little showers breaking out in a few scattered areas across Nevada and Utah, no big deal. And then in the Southern Rockies early next week. But on the whole, the weather in the west looks like it's kind of taking a bit of a breather over time. So you guys need a little bit of a breather with all the weather that you've had on and off for the last number of months. All right, so let's just really fast, I'll just show you what's going on here at the midday hour. Look at these temperatures. They're up in the 90s all the way into central New England, through much of upstate New York, New Jersey, Long Island. There was not much of a sea breeze. I was out here on the Great South Bay, and literally the sea breeze front was right in the middle of the bay going east-west. So you stay on one side of the bay, it was still well up into the 80s and hadn't cooled off yet. Then just take the boat out a little further south toward Cupsog Beach and Fire Island, and all of a sudden you hit the sea breeze and it felt so much better. But these are very hot temperatures here. We're already seeing some readings up around 94 or 5. And we'll probably see some records go by the boards, and numerous records went by the boards yesterday. New York City Central Park, Newark, White Plains, Islip, all setting temperature records. Kennedy, LaGuardia setting temperature records for the day. So this is the last hot afternoon, and then we can get set for some cooler weather. 70s tomorrow, and then upper 60s to mid 70s on Thursday, and I'm really looking forward to that. All right, folks, have a great day. Websites, posts on meteorologistjoechaffee.com, Angry Ben on nycweathernow.com, Long Island Weather on weatherlongisland.com. And thank you very much to all my subscribers on my YouTube channel. If you're brand new, hit the red subscribe button. Become a subscriber. Doesn't cost you a dime. You get notifications when new videos come on, which is at least once a day.